Chapter 6 True Friends. In one of his rebirths, Bodhisattva was born as a deer who lived with a tortoise near a lake in the jungle. By the side of the lake stood a tree on which lived a woodpecker. All three were good friends, and their friendship grew stronger with time. One day, a hunter came into the jungle. He saw the beautiful lake and was delighted to see the footprints of a deer on the ground. Hoping to catch the deer, he spread out his net near the lake. Happy at the thought of trapping the deer, the hunter returned home. He planned to pay a second visit the next morning. The hunter's perception proved right. The deer came to drink water at dusk. In the growing darkness, he failed to notice the trap laid by the hunter and unwittingly stepped into the net. He was nicely and soundly trapped. He let out a cry of pain, on hearing which his friends, the tortoise and the woodpecker, rushed out of their homes. They were shocked to see their dear friend trapped in the net. They decided to free the deer after drawing up a plan for rescuing him. The woodpecker suggested that since the tortoise had strong teeth, he should nibble at the net while he himself would go and prevent the hunter from coming near. So, as agreed, the tortoise got down to work while the woodpecker flew to the hunter's house and sat on the roof, waiting for him to emerge. Next morning, the hunter woke up, hurriedly got ready, and picked up his gun and closed the door to his house before stepping out. Promptly, the woodpecker flew down and pecked hard on his face. The hunter, considering this to be a bad omen, returned inside. Tired of waiting, he dozed off. Some time later, the hunter woke up and decided to go to the lake. It suddenly struck him that on the earlier occasion, when he had left from the front door, the bird had hit him. In order to avoid such a mishap, he decided to leave through the back door. He picked up his gun and stepped out of the door. Immediately, the woodpecker jabbed him again on the face. The angry hunter went back inside and closed the door, puzzled at this happening. Next day, in the early morning hours, he cautiously looked around and stepped out. This time, there was no woodpecker to peck at him. So he continued his journey towards the jungle. Meanwhile, the woodpecker flew past to warn the deer and the tortoise of the hunter's arrival. The tortoise had by now completed his work and was completely exhausted. He bled at his mouth and his teeth rattled due to constant nibbling at the net. The hunter drew near the lake. Upon hearing the hunter's treat, the woodpecker flew down and perched itself on the tree. The deer too ran for safety, but the tortoise could not move due to fatigue. When the hunter reached the lake, he saw the net torn apart and the tortoise lying next to it. Angrily, he picked up the tortoise and dropped him into his bag, saying to himself, "At least something is better than nothing." When the deer looked back, he saw the hunter dropping the tortoise inside his bag. Realizing it his duty to save the tortoise as the latter had saved him, The deer drew closer to the hunter to announce his presence. On seeing the deer, the hunter was now tempted to trap it. Promptly, he dropped the bag containing the tortoise and rushed towards the deer. The deer purposely ran slowly to lure him deep into the jungle. The hunter looked around but could find no sign of the deer, who had hidden himself behind a tree. Meanwhile, the woodpecker had chewed the bag apart and freed the tortoise. The deer ran out of the forest to advise the tortoise to rush back into the lake and the woodpecker to return to the tree. Meanwhile, he hid himself again, while the hunter, on failing to find the deer, returned to the lake. To his surprise, he found the bag torn, with no sign of the tortoise anywhere. Greatly disappointed, he picked up his torn net and bag and slowly returned home. The three friends watched the unhappy hunter walk back slowly as they looked happily at each other for befooling him by working together.